Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Speeches October. I would like to welcome you all back. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate your support on this journey. So we are finally in October. It is fall, and I know that you guys are getting the fall vibe from me with my urban hair. You guys liking it? I hope you are. But anyway, yes, I am doing a review today on the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette that I have been wanting to try out, but I just didn't have the time to film. And this palette has been sitting here for a while as other palettes that I've purchased that I haven't used. So I decided to get glam up with this palette today. If you'd like to see how I achieve this look, please keep watching. And after the eye look, I will come back with my final thoughts on this palette. Let's dive into this palette, shall we? So it looks like they got sienna in this palette too. I've seen sienna and burnt orange in a couple of the other palettes. Anyway, it's fall and I don't know what type of look I should do. So I'll take sienna and go with it in my crease. She's pigmented. Oh, excuse me, girl. Excuse me. Wow, she is pigmented. Okay, Sienna, I see you. I see you, baby Sienna. All right, so I'm just gonna go with the second shade to darken my crease. And the palette, the shadow blending out very, very nicely. And then I will go ahead and take the shades Mulberry right here and I'll tap it right here. The next shade that I'm going to go in with is the shade Noir, and I'm going to just pop some of that in my crease area. I'm sorry, in my outer V, just a tad bit, because this is a dark shade. I don't want it to be too much, but at the same time I just want to get some definition in my outer V. And after blending out that shade, which is blending out so well now, I'm gonna go in with Mulberry just to tame it down a little. So I'm taking the Sigma E40 brush and I'm just gonna blend out the crease area to soften those shadows on both sides. Let's take out some of these shadows. I'm just using a Q-tip. I'm going to go in with NYX Cosmetics Multitasker Mixing Base. My girl Nes Monet on here. Vanessa Monet. I call her Nes Monet. Vanessa Monet here on YouTube put me up to this. But before I use that, I'm going to go in with my concealer. So the concealer that I'm using is the Stellar Cosmetics concealer, and I'm just gonna use the concealer brush to clean that up and blend it out, I should say. But at the same time, I don't want to lose the product that I have on my lid here because I'm painting on that to make my shadow stick. So now I'm gonna take the shade Sultry, which is this shadow. Very chunky. But before I do that, that's when I'm going to apply the mixed medium eyeshadow base from NYX, and that's to help the eyeshadow really pop. I expected more color payoff from this shadow, unless I'm not applying it the right way, but it. So after using that shadow, I'm going to go in with the shade right here. I'm going to take that shade right there, bronze, and I'll pop it in here. I'll pop it in over this bronze shadow. And I'm going to use Fairy to really enhance this look. Fairy is a pretty light gold shade. The bronze shade is not showing so good, so I'm going to try to use one of the matte shades on here because I really want this color transitioning to something different. So I will tap in Mulberry. Let's see how it looks, if it's gonna make any difference. Okay, that's better. All right, let's go ahead and use bronze again on the brow bone. So let's try something very new today. I'm going to try the MAC Cosmetics Fascinating Eye Coil Pencil. It's a white pencil, and I'm going to put in my waterline. Okay, so let's see how that goes. I'm going to pop my eye. No, I haven't really heard about this pencil, so I say, you know what, I'm just going to try it. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. My eyes are watering like crazy. Well, baby, it is not bad. Okay now. All right, so next I am going in with the with my Cosmetics Coil Pencil, also in the shade, I think this is Feline. Oldie but goodie back in the day, Feline. So this is Feline, and I'm going on the outside of the eye, underneath. So I'm going with Feline. So I'm going underneath my eye with Mulberry. Now I'm going back in with the mascara. So let me cut my lower lashes. Ooh. So that's the final look on the eyes. Let me know what you think. And that's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. First off, this palette is a very beautiful neutral eyeshadow palette that has some warm tones in it that allows you to create several soft glam looks. It also allows you to create some sultry looks. You can also create like a smoky eye from this look, and that would be bomb. Maybe I should do that one of these days. But anyway, so the pros of this palette is that the palette has 12 shades, and those out of the 12 shades, I think there are either one shadow that I think I'm not able to use because of my skin complexion. So that's a pro for me, because most times when it comes to Anastasia Beverly Hills and some other brands, the pigmentation don't really, you know, meet my expectation, and that's just me. Some of the palettes I really do love. Some of the palettes are on point, but some of the palettes aren't. I would say, for example, what was that one in the green pack? I'll put it on the screen here. I'll put it somewhere on the screen here. That Subculture palette, the Subculture palette was a mess. It was a flap. And I went and purchased the Novena palette. When I opened up the palette, basically the shades were not anything that was matching me. Maybe only one or two shadows. I was highly disappointed. I mean, if I'm gonna get a Novena palette that I'm paying so much money for, why not go get the Juvia's Place purple or violet palettes for 12 or 18 bucks and get all the purples that I need? First of all, the packaging is wonderful. These are the shadows. I do feel these are repeated shades. For example, Sienna, I remember Sappers, Umber, I remember, yeah, I think those two are the only ones that I remember. But Mulberry looks like a shade that I have used in one of the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes before. But with that said, these shadows had to be added into this palette for it to be or dark skin friendly palette. Other than that, it would have been a flap. So I like all of the shadows. The only shadow that I got disappointed on was this sultry shadow. I don't think it shined the way I expected it to. I may be wrong, but I will swatch it for you guys so you can see. What is this? What is this? This is not a pigment for, you know, even as even my skin not being so you know, chocolate. I have a caramel kind of skin, but this shadow was a disappointment. When I apply it, you guys saw in the tutorial, when I apply it, I had to put another shade over it to really satisfy the look that I have today. But I did not like this shadow. This sultry shadow was a mess for me. But other than that, the other shadows are fine. The white shadow is even more pigmented than the sultry shadow. Is it because of the formula? I don't know. I even tried NYX multitasker mixing medium to see if I could bring more sheen to it, but it did not work for me. But overall, I like the palette. I love that it has a lot of dark shades that we can use as, you know, dark skin people. And other complexions can also use it. So this palette, basically, I would say is a diverse palette. And I believe the shade that I use on my lid can be a highlighter shade for me. Look how the brow bone looks. The brow bone looks really good. I use bronze in my brow bone, and I also use it on my lid. I use Fairy, and I use I use Fairy on my eyelid, and it does really look like a highlighted shade. So I like that. So those two colors that are really amazing in the palette as well. Another pro of the palette is that it has a lot of transition shades that you can mess around with. You can go in with Rustic as a transition shade. You can go in with Sienna, which I use as a transition shade. You can go in with Burnt Orange. Burnt Orange is also a familiar shade from one of our palettes. I think the Modern Renaissance palette. But yeah, you can go in with Burnt Orange. You can go in with Orange Soda. I mean, these shadows, you know, are a variety of shadows that you can use as a transition shade with several looks from this palette if you wish to create those. Another thing is that the palette is travel friendly because it has a brush in it. It has a mirror also. That's one thing with Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. She always includes a mirror in it, and that's very handy. That's useful. So if you travel with this palette size, you can even throw it in your purse and go your way. I always do keep my boxes to keep the palettes in there. So this palette is a palette that you will create several looks with. The black shade in there, like I said, enables you create multiple looks. That's one thing. You can tame it down, you can go dark with it, you can add another shadow over it like I did. I put the dark shadow here, the black shadow here, and then I added mulberry on top of it to, you know, kind of like tame it down, and it's perfect. It worked perfectly in my crease, and I like that. So the cons on this palette, I think everybody that buys Anastasia Beverly Hills palette complains about their velvet packaging and how quickly it gets dirty. As I'm talking to you, I'm wiping off the palette. I also had a little kickback from one of the shadows that I used, which was mulberry. I had a little kickback. I probably went in there too hard, and that's why I had a kickback. But other than that, it all blended out well. Yeah, so not really much negative thing to say about this palette. I love it. It works for a lot of skin tone overall, and it is a diverse palette. It works for multiple skin tones, and that's what I like about it. That's the main pro of this palette. So if you are interested in trying this out, or if you have already tried it out, please let me know. Leave your comments down below. Let's get into a conversation with this eyeshadow palette. That said, I'll talk to you guys. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye, my loves. Smooches.